What are you wearing?
A Canadian tuxedo.
Canadian
I'm a hockey player. Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
To all you Blues fans, we're bleeding blue with you.
Let's go Blues. Let's go Blues. Let's go Blues.
BlueNote Fan Report. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Happy Free Agency Day. Today is the official start of the NHL season. Yay! We have some stuff to talk about since our last meeting at the draft. At the last meeting at the draft, we had, joining me, Justin Scott.
Going on, guy? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Welcome back. Welcome back. You know, I'm enjoying having you on the show each and every time. That's why I ask you, so I appreciate it. And giving us the opposition research, we had Windy City Hockey Nick. Hey, Nick, how you doing, buddy?
If the Blackhawks would have actually done something today, I would have been happy.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, right?
I only did one thing, and I'm like, it doesn't even do anything for this team.
Well, I think, and Nick, you've heard me say this before, right? And I think you understand this, where I'm coming. I want the Blackhawks to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I want the Blues to be good. It intensifies that rivalry. It makes it fun, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
When those two teams are good, that rivalry is intensified. It hasn't been that way for about 8 years now.
Almost, it's really more so 10 years at this point.
Well, we did have one really good series back in, I want to say, 15.
2016 was when we met up in the playoffs.
16 in the first round, right?
What?
2016 in the first round?
Yeah, I went to games 2 and 7 in that series, and really, think about it. It's going to be 10 years this coming season when the two teams met up in the playoffs last.
Okay, yeah. So getting to that point, right? Because in 7, yeah, they haven't been in the playoffs other than the bubble, and I really don't count that. But they haven't been in the playoffs since that point.
2017 was our last time officially in the playoffs, but then we also had that COVID playoff that we were in.
Yeah. So, 18. Yeah, 17 you were in. 18, that was the first time ever that the Blues, Red Wings, and Blackhawks were all not in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, going there. We're going to talk about the things that have happened since the last show. I kind of want to go a little in chronological order because it kind of sets things up. The first thing that happened was just before free agency opened a couple days ago, the St. Louis Blues announced that they tendered or not tendered, but that Ville Husso signed a 2-year extension with the Blues.
You mean Joe Hofer, not Ville Husso.
That happened. Did that happen before the draft or after the draft? Or right before the draft, right?
No, I think it was after the draft.
Yeah, after the draft. It was right after the draft. So they gave him 2 years at $3.4 million. And I had a couple of people talking to me. Did I say Husso? I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
I meant Hoffer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hoffer Husso on
No,
the
you're
brink.
good. You're good. I tried to correct you there.
Yeah, sorry. I had a couple people. So the way they released it, it sounded like he was getting 6.8 per, which he's not. He's getting 3.4 per. And that makes the Blues spending 9.4 for goalies. I don't have a problem with that.
That's about
No.
right for goaltending spend, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When you
I've always thought 10 mil until the cap goes over 100 mil was the number.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Once the cap goes over 100 mil, I'm going to up that to maybe about 13. And once it gets about 115, I might go up. I think it should be just a little bit more than 10% of the overall cap. Right? And I've always felt like 10 million for goalies was a good amount. It was a good number to pay both of your goalies. Right? I like the Hoffer deal. The biggest thing I like about the Hoffer deal is it saves the Blues some money because someone was going to offer him a stupid money contract,
probably Edmonton,
right? Just to force the Blues to pay it.
If I would say this, if Hoffer ended up going onto the market as a RFA, he would have been offer sheeted probably by Edmonton, and I don't think St. Louis would have matched the deal by Edmonton. I think they would have taken the compensation from Edmonton.
probably.
Well, we talked about this. I remember we talked about this on one of the shows. Where was that compensation going to be? It's good next season. Are they going to be in the top 4 again? There's a good chance, right? So let's say you did get a first round pick, it was going to be, I'd say 26 or lower,
which isn't bad to get for next year's draft, which is actually a much more advanced level draft than it was this year. Next year's draft is looking up to be a pretty solid first couple of rounds, actually.
Yeah.
I kind of look at the Hofer deal. It's a good deal. I like the deal. I mean, you're saving money. I was always under the impression I knew the Blues were gonna lock Hofer up. I mean, they were not gonna let him get close enough to an offer sheet scenario. I think the Blues have probably one of the better tandems for goaltending in the league, if I'm honest. There's a lot of good ones out there, but I think the Blues have one of the most solid ones.
Wendy, I think even you, as much of a Pennington hater you are, have to look at the Bulls' goaltending situation and say that it's at least in the top half of the league, if not better.
I have them around top 5-ish.
And I would be right there with you. I could go 4, maybe 3.
Because the reason why I have St. Louis in top 5 for goaltending right now is because it's not a situation where they have to worry about a potential of who they can trust both goalies and net.
Yeah,
if you're looking at tandems, they have a top 5 tandem.
Yeah.
If you're looking at a situation as if one of them gets injured, you have a solid 1B option who can hold the fort for a while. You also have I don't know how it would look for third string for your guys.
We've got a good third string. He had a good. Colton Ellis had a good season. And Zerzinko, who everyone's talking about, he's going back to Russia. Well, guess what? The Blues tendered him a contract. He's not going back to Russia. He was just there for the summer. He's coming back.
Our goaltending situation in St. Louis is good. I'm not worried about goaltending at all. At least for a while.
Yeah. So I know we got to get into the big news of the day coming up. So I want to talk about the second thing that happened. We were on with the draft and we did the first round. In the second round, or in the 5th round and the 6th round, the Blues took a forward and a goalie. To me, they're both flyers, right? I think the forward we got him. He dropped a little. He could be a bottom 6 forward someday. I don't know. 5th round is like the lowest I go when I go, okay, maybe you have NHL potential. I don't look at 6th and 7th round guys as having NHL potential at all, with the exception of maybe a goalie.
Yeah.
Because goalies fall. And goalies fall farther than you think they would. So maybe he can add. I mean, they're both 18, so
Yeah.
maybe he can add down the road a little bit to some of that depth. I'm okay with that. The players we selected, and I was trying to say, I set the show up earlier. I had, and this is just a personal thing, I had a comp and pension exam today, and for some reason mentally after that it really messes me up a little bit. We did Fedorov, right? Reminded me of the Russian guy, 18. He's out of Russia, a right wing, and then we did Love Hernstrom, 18, out of Sweden as a goalie. Yeah, he could give us something there, right? Oh, we lost Wendy for a second. Hopefully, be right back. Any comments on that right now, real first?
I think for me, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, Guy, about how the Blues are always so good at making selections, at these high rounds. I think it speaks to how good Doug and their team do, the scouting team do, with seeing these guys and seeing the potential that these guys have, but also, playing to the strengths, knowing the roles, knowing what the team may need, knowing what position to take. Like you said, you don't look at like a forward or defenseman in the 6th and 7th round being like NHL, going to be NHL caliber guy, but a goalie could be. So, I think that just comes down to the smartness of the scouting team and Doug and what they've, done.
No, yeah, I'm with you there, right? I know Wendy's kind of popping in and out. Hopefully he'll get his technical stuff. Yeah. So now we get into today. Well, they tendered 3 RFAs. They're all the RFAs are not on the roster, right? Other than, so we won't, the qualifying offers, they did the qualifying offers to three guys. They did it to Alexandrov, Skinner, and Zerzinko, right? So those guys, basically, they got to sign with the Blues. Or, I mean, someone could offer sheet them. I don't think anybody does, right?
No.
I don't think anybody does.
I don't think anybody.
I think Zerzinko could go to arbitration, but I don't think he will. Alexandrov's 24. He could go to arbitration, but I don't think he will either.
No.
These were all 3 of these were minor league deals, basically. Okay. Yes. No big deal. Nikki Glaser at the draft, I wasn't happy with it. I thought she did okay. Her jokes were okay. I get them, right? They weren't bad. They weren't her Comedy Central roast style jokes, and I'm okay with that. I didn't have a problem. Now we get into the big news, and the Blues threw a shocker up this morning. Now, this morning, I say this morning for me, it was probably about 6 a.m. So that's about 11 o'clock your guys' time, somewhere around there, if I'm right. Does that make about sense? Somewhere in that.
Yeah, I'm usually heading into work, so I'm not.
When I first saw that, and Wendy, how do you pronounce his name? Malalu?
Mailute. Logan Mailute.
Huh? Logan
Mailute.
Mailute.
Okay. Mail you. Like
mail you. Like mail you.
And you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Logan Mailute. When I first saw it, all I saw was Mailute. We were trading for Mailute. I thought it was a draft pick trade. I would have been okay. Well, they did clarify it wasn't a Kyrou trade. We'll talk about that at the end of the show because I'm going to go off on that. But they clarified it wasn't a Kyrou. It was that the terms were still being worked out. I thought it was a draft pick trade, and I'm thinking 2nd round pick. And I've been okay with that, right? But then it comes out, and it's Bolduc. I'm not fucking happy with that. Not in the least bit. Now, I heard what Armstrong said, and I get what he said, and I love the man. I think he knows his job better than I do, and I get it, but I think he did something short-sighted.
What did he say exactly? Because I have a little bit to say about Milieu before you let me know
Okay.
what Armstrong said.
Give me just a second, and I will pull it up.
Yeah,
I
it was.
want to read it. Is that okay, Wendy?
Yeah, sure.
Right? Because I want to make sure I get it right.
If it's about
by the way,
Milieu's
I just saw
PR,
this.
I'm like,
Say again.
if it's
Okay.
about Milieu's background, I'm like,
Okay. No, it
there's
was not
some
about his
issue.
background. We'll get to it. By the way, Fosca, and I didn't see this until just now, and it was probably about 4 hours ago. Okay, signed with Dallas today, right?
Was
okay.
Was it about like when he went in the draft? Is that what you're referring to?
Who?
Any
With Milieu?
the Milieu when
Okay.
Dub
There's
was
a little bit to it, but there's more to his background.
yeah.
Okay. This is what Armstrong said on Milieu today to the press corps. He's an excellent skater. He's got an excellent shot. He's learning the game from a defending standpoint, but we think he's NHL ready now. I talked to him and told him that he has a job now and he's job to come to camp and keep it. We're going to bring him in and we're going to grow with him, but we think he has the opportunity to be a top 4D. During the year, we always go in and rate prospects, and where we have them, and he's always been in the area. We felt that he's a top 4 talent NHL defenseman, maybe a little bit higher. He also said, and I don't see it here. Okay. No, that was Milieu. He also said that when he looked at our young wingers and he looked at our defensemen, he felt that with the 4 older defensemen, bringing a younger guy in made sense. He didn't like giving up Bolduc, but he had guys behind him that could fill in Bolduc's spot. He didn't feel like he had the defense, and that's kind of why he went with the trade. Now, we will get it. Now, I do not know a lot. All I know is what I researched, and I got it off of Wikipedia. That's all I know. I'm being honest, okay? With Milieu, when he was a junior, if I got this right, in juniors, right? 16, 17, 18 years old, around there. Is that correct, Wendy?
It's just before he got drafted.
Just before he got drafted. He was with the woman. He took pictures of him and her in sexual acts and then showed them to his teammates. That's what I know happened. If there's something other than that happened, that's not what I saw reported. And there could be. I just did a quick search because I remembered the name and something going around, but I don't remember exactly what it was. Wendy, if you want to fill us in a little bit, please keep it civil. I ask, and I know.
Yeah. So one thing I do remember when Milieu was drafted, before the draft, he did try to pull out of the draft. The thing is, when he was in, I believe it was in Sweden, playing hockey, he got charged for these crimes of showing these photos off, without consent. I get it. He was a teenager, but still, that's something you should know not to do when you don't have consent to show imagery like that. Anyone at that age would kind of figure they probably shouldn't be doing that if they don't have the right consent. It's kind of, it does not help his case.
No.
When Montreal drafted him, their fans were livid that they drafted Milieu. And then Montreal's GM at the time, Marc Bergevin, had to do a whole PR he basically had a PR nightmare on his hands, stating that we're going to try and work with Milieu and help him try to better himself.
Yes.
I haven't seen much with Milieu as lately. I know he played a few games here and there last season with Montreal.
Yeah, he has a total of 7 games, and I don't mean to. I'm just filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
Okay. He had 7 games at Montreal.
I will say this: when he was drafted, before he was drafted, he was viewed as probably a top 5 pick in the NHL draft, but he fell because of his background.
Indiscretion.
Yeah. So it made it where Montreal took the risk of drafting him and taking the risk of the PR nightmare they're going to have on their hands. And it feels like the next regime who's in Montreal's control now basically didn't have much in favor for Milieu. That's where I'm thinking. And they were willing to move on from him because they now have like Lane Hudson, who is their number 1 defenseman.
And this is what Armstrong brought up. And I know you're there, Justin. I'll get to you in a second. This is kind of what Armstrong brought up, that Montreal, when it came to defensemen, had a glut. When it comes to right winger, left winger, young guys, we have a little bit of a glut. Milieu had 7 games, or 8 games total, in the NHL, 1 a year ago, 7 this year. But he had a pretty good AHL season. I don't remember the stats off the top of my head, but I looked it up. He had a pretty good AHL season. I'm going to let Justin talk first, and then I will say what I feel about this. And I want you to know, and if you know me, you know where I have a unique perspective on all of this. Okay? Wendy, you know what I'm talking about. I've been open and honest about it before. So I'll let Justin go now.
I think when you kind of look at a situation like this, I do like your guys' point about how, he was a teenager, he's still young. But I think you are right, Wendy. You have to carry yourself as a professional, when you're a professional athlete. That's just how it is. And he should have known better. As for I know we're not getting into like the details per se of, the deal, and, I'm not as angry, with, the give that the Blues gave for, to getting back. I think only time will tell. I liked Zach Bolduc, but I'm not as enraged as some people are. I think people can change, and I think that maybe he has turned a new leaf. I don't agree with what he's done, but I can also look at a certain situation and make the difference between that and his skill on the ice. So
okay. Let me. I have a very unique viewpoint on this. And first of all, you have to understand that what he did in Sweden. If he'd done the same thing here in the U.S., there's no charges. 0. There are no charges. What he did in the U.S. actually would not have been considered illegal.
No, it wouldn't have.
However, let me say this. If we had there was a baseball player, I want to say he was on Texas, I cannot think of his name, who was a straight up alcoholic and addict. I know he's been highlighted. I know somebody knows who I'm talking about. I want to say he was on the Rangers. He may have been on some other teams. It's been highlighted. This guy has had relapse after relapse after relapse, yet he is still, I don't think he's in the league now, but he got chance after chance after chance. Brower, I don't think it was him. It was another guy. I can't think of his name. Like the guy had won AAA Hamilton. That's it. Hamilton. That's it. Rangers and Angels. Thank you, Hamilton. I can't remember his first name, but that's the guy. Yes. The guy had won a championship ring in the AHL and he pawned it for drugs. Right? Did I hear the press conference today? Great attitude. No, I did not hear it. Hopefully I'll get to look at it. When it comes to sex, we in our society have a very different look at it than the rest of the world does. And it's Billy Hamilton, I think, but I could be wrong.
I think is it Dougie Hamilton? Is that
Josh
him?
Hamilton? Josh Hamilton.
Josh Hamilton.
I think
Yeah,
it was
that's
Josh
right.
Hamilton. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Hamilton.
We have in our society, in this society here, the United States, sex is a taboo subject, period. If someone is accused of some type of sexual crime or misdeed, they are guilty until proven innocent. And in my eyes, that's a little bit of what's going on in this. I'm going to look at it this, and Chris kind of said it, or not Chris, Matlow said it here. He's been a model citizen since. He took pictures, and people act like he's Bill Crosby. I kind of get that, and I got to be honest with you. I'm on Matt. I agree with Matlow here. If it was something worse, if it was something of the Canadian Five, something along those lines, yeah, I'd be up in arms. I'm not going to go there, right? My thing is, was Bolduc the right guy to give up? Because I'll tell you what, there's another player that I think we could have given up. And, I'm going to get so much heat for this. And I would have felt a lot better. Right? There's one other player that I think that we could have, that's in Bolduc's wheelhouse, right? Like same as Bolduc, that I think I would have been a little bit better trading him. And I actually think people would have been more ballistic if we traded that guy.
I don't really, I can't give you a guess off the top of my head.
Dvorsky.
Yeah, that would have been risky. I think. Yeah, like I said, for me, I'm not up in arms about losing Zach Bolduc. I loved Zach Bolduc and what he brought, but I think he was great for the power play. And I got to look at it like this. I think he's going to be a great player in Montreal, but when he was here and he was succeeding, he's a hard work ethic player. But look who he was really connecting with, especially on the power play. Robert Thomas. Robert Thomas can make anybody look good. So,
I do see your point, but I'm looking at it this way. Bolduc's got 90-something games in the NHL. He's almost at that point where you absolutely know what he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mailloux has 8 games in the NHL. Even if you projected Mailloux over the season, he's not going to replace that. I think it was 18 or 19 goals that you got from Bolduc. And if you bring Devo up, is Devo, again, no game, or 3 or 4 games in the NHL, going to replace those 19 goals? Right? That's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm almost looking service to service here. Yes, you're right. It would have been extremely hard to give up Devo, but at the same time, like you just said, Wendy, where did you say you thought if Mailloux wouldn't have had this issue, where do you think he would have drafted?
If I remember correctly, he was projected around in the top 10 of the draft at that time.
Okay.
Going into that draft before everything came out, if I remember correctly, it was around top 10 of the draft.
Yeah, I remember him being
and he went 31st because Montreal just went to the Cup final. They still had their pick and took him in that pick.
Took a flyer on him.
Yeah.
Right? Devo, a top 10 pick. Right? And we got Devo. We stole Devo at 10. He should have gone at 7. Right? Dvorsky was the best available at 10 and should have been off the board between 5 and 7. So Dvorsky slipped a little bit. That is the reason I bring up Dvorsky in that case. And I don't think I'm that, I'll be honest, I don't think I'm that far off.
No. For me, I kind of look at Dvorsky in a way. Like, I think Dvorsky, he has the potential to be a good player here. Do I think that it has a possibility to miss? Me personally, I do. I look at, it's only a limited amount of games, but when I watched Jimmy Snuggerud come in and play, it felt a whole lot different when he came in and played rather than when I saw Dvorsky come in and play. Yeah, they're both young. Yeah, it takes time. But when Snuggerud came up, man, he was guns blazing, flying all over the place. That guy didn't look nervous. Dvorsky looked nervous.
Yeah, well, remember, Dvorsky's 1 or 2 years younger than Snugard. And Snugard just came off of 3 years of college, which would be almost the same, almost or very close to the same as playing 3 years in the AHL. Maybe not as many games, but it's that experience, right?
Well, and I think I like I said, I think both are going to be good players, and I'm not counting Dvorsky out in any way. I'm just saying from what I saw, I know the age and the experience and all that, but all these rookies start somewhere, and you always have to have your first game. I'm just saying from a technological standpoint, from the games that they came in, Snuggerud looked confident while Dvorsky still was kind of trying to find his footing, and he wasn't very noticeable. But that still can come with time, obviously.
Last year, at number 16, we took Adam Jarek.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things with Jarek was some injuries. He did play this year, but now, to me, it's almost like by bringing Melu in, it's almost like you're saying that Jarek's ready. And he might be further down the road. So that's kind of where I'm kind of hanging out with.
Right? I mean, I can see that. But the thing is I gotta agree with the approach that Doug took on this when he spoke on it. And he practically, he pretty much said like, hey, we took something of theirs that they had surplus in, and they took something of ours that we had surplus in. Like, when we look at our wingers are, pretty set. We have Bush and who else am I missing? Holloway. So Bush, Holloway. We have Kyrou and Snuggerud.
Neighbors.
Well, yeah, we got neighbors, but I'm talking about like the big guys who can go out there and get you some massive points. Kyrou, Snuggerud, Bush, and I just said it. But we have a surplus of wingers. So they thought that, hey, Zach Bolduc, although we like the guy, you got to give up. You got to give up sometimes what you don't want to get what you want in return or what you need in return. And I think that's a good way of
Tage Thompson.
saying it.
Right? Case in point, right? Tage Thompson. We gave up on Tage Thompson way too early. However, you weren't getting a Ryan O'Reilly without giving up a Tage Thompson. The other pieces of that deal didn't matter. That was Buffalo fleecing the Blues. But, well, yes and no. We've talked about this before.
Yeah,
some of that
not
was
really
Buffalo, but it was you weren't getting O'Reilly without giving up Thompson.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and these teams aren't going to trade. These teams are not going to trade with you knowing that they're going to get fleeced. They're going to try to get the best deal they can. And Guy, you're going to like this because you're looking at this. There was speculation that Mail U was going to be a part of a trade with Jordan Kyrou. So it would either probably been Jordan Kyrou or Zach Bolduc. I'm all right with giving up Zach Bolduc instead of Kyrou.
Okay, I get that. Hold on, but I will. There is no effing way in this world that we were trading Jordan Kyrou.
Well, that was the speculation.
All of that shit was media, absolute media. I saw a couple of fake Facebook profiles today posting stuff about how bad Bolduc is, and they should have traded him, and all this stuff. And then I go look at the profile, and it's a brand new profile, right? So, but when it comes down to it, and I thought about this in my car last night when I was driving, I would say, and I'm making this number up, but I'm thinking it's pretty close. 80%, 80 to 85% of the people that do not like Bolduc don't like Bolduc because of Berube. They blame Bolduc for Berube getting fired. And I thank Bolduc for Berube getting fired.
Yeah.
They blame not Bolduc, Kyrou. Sorry.
Kyrou.
Kyrou's who I meant. I'm sorry, Kyrou. They blame Kyrou for Berube getting fired. What they don't look at, what they do not look at, is what we lost. Yeah, I know I screwed up. What we lost along the way. Petrangelo. Berube had a lot to do with Petrangelo. Schwartz. Perron. Tarasenko. O'Reilly. That core of that team all had falling out somewhat with Berube. Right? And with that being said, for you to sit there and go, it's Kyrou because Kyrou doesn't do this or Kyrou doesn't do that. I look at Tarasenko. What did Tarasenko just do? What did Tarasenko just do? This drives me up a fucking wall that this just happened.
Got traded to 6th team for future considerations.
Well, the only one team was future considerations, but he just got. This was a guy 6 years ago. I thought was destined for the Hall of Fame. I thought Tarasenko was a Hall of Famer. Maybe I'm biased, but I felt like he was putting up those numbers, playing that style, and then all of a sudden, he's not that player anymore. And it was the last 2 years that he was with Berube that shit came up, and him wanting to get and all of this. And I'm sorry, I blame Berube for ruining Tarasenko's career. I'm going to ask this. Do you think prior to going back, not hindsight 2020, going back to 2020, do you put Tarasenko as a borderline Hall of Famer? Honestly.
I didn't have him at it yet.
Trending towards it? Would you say trending towards it?
I would say he was Hall of very good at that when he was still at
Hall of very good.
I get that, but I think you're kind of going with me that he was trending towards.
My thing is if he stayed healthy and then also didn't now get traded to his 6th team in just 3 years.
Actually, he hasn't been traded to 6 teams. They've been traded.
This is his 6th team in 3 years.
Yeah. He signed with 2 of them, 3 of them.
Yeah, but you get what I mean.
He's been around.
He's been around. It's kind of turned him into a journeyman. It's now you will say he won't be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But I didn't see him as a Hall of Famer in St. Louis. I saw him. Yeah, he's a top tier player in St. Louis, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. That's where I'm at. Was at when he was in St. Louis.
I think he's a guy. I think he's a guy that's treasured by Blues fans. And touted as one of the better Blues in history. But as for an all around general standpoint, I'm kind of with Wendy on this one. That I don't think as a general narrative of most he's viewed as a Hall of Famer. I think
I think that skewed a bit because you know the current history. But I think going back to 20, was trending. He was trending that way. He was trending towards Hall of Fame. I'm almost sure of it, right? Like if you were to ask guys after the Stanley Cup, who on this team do you see in the Hall of Fame? I think the primary answers would have been Petro, Tarasenko.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the primary answer.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where I'm at. And then what happened after that? Tarasenko got traded to the Rangers, signed with Ottawa. He was traded. I can't remember. I think he was traded to Florida.
He was traded to Florida, won the Cup in Florida.
Signed with Detroit.
Yep.
For 2 years, has 1 year left on his deal, and then got traded to Minnesota for future consideration.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. I was honestly when I heard Tarasenko was on the block in Detroit, he was on my trade target list for the Blackhawks to go after. And I probably would have given up a fourth or a third round pick for Tarasenko in Chicago.
I could see that. You know what? I kind of look at it this way, Wendy. I agree with you. That's probably a good fit. Putting him that with his skill and his shot and his vision with Bedard. Mm-hmm. That might help Bedard.
Oh yeah.
However, based on the battles Tarasenko had with the Blackhawks, including the Winter Classic, I don't think he ever puts that jersey on.
Yeah.
I don't know at this point because
he had no trade clause. He had a full no trade clause, so he had to waive it for the team.
He would have been a good pickup for Chicago.
I agree.
If the Blackhawks would have landed him and not Minnesota, I think the Hawks would have set up a much better look in this offseason because right now it's not looking good in Chicago's point of view.
Yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. And Matt Lowe goes, I don't think Vladdy gives a shit on
Well,
he may not.
Well, and
honestly, at this point, he's on a team. He's lucky to be on a team for just getting traded for future considerations.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota.
Another year in his contract. He was playing next year, no matter what.
There's speculation he could have been a buyout candidate by Detroit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to be honest, I think
it's a contract. I guarantee he gets a contract.
It's a solid pickup for Minnesota, but as I see for both teams, for both Chicago and Minnesota, I don't have them ranked very high going into next season. If I'm honest, either way, whichever guy or whichever team landed Tarasenko.
He's at Jose, my buddy Jose Dynamite is asking, does he get to 1,000 games? He's at 831. I think it's close.
How old is he? How old is Tarasenko?
33.
33.
Usually you hit 1,000 games around the 33-year-old mark.
Yeah.
I don't think he does.
He didn't miss a full season though, but he came in. Well, he came in late. He started his career late because of
KHL.
The strike. The strike. There was a strike year where he went and played in the KHL.
What year was he drafted? He was drafted in 2010. He played in the
20.
KHL
Yeah,
from.
20.
So he was drafted in 2010. He was in the KHL.
And he didn't come into he didn't play in the
2010.
NHL until 2012, 2013. So, right. If he stays in St. Louis, I think he hits 500 goals in St. Louis. I think he stays in that 30 to 40 goal range, right? I think he stays there in that 30 to 40 goal range. He had 15. He was 37, 40, 39 from 14 to 17. 17, 18, he had 33. 18, 19, he had 33. 19, 20, he only had 10, but he only played in 10 games because he was hurt. That was the season that hurt him, right?
Mm.
And then in 2021, the strike shortened season, he was hurt again. He only played in 24 of that 50-something games. So so right there. But then he comes back in 21-22 with 34 goals, right? So, the guy has. And then when he leaves then all of a sudden he can't score. The best year he's had was with St. Louis and the Rangers. He had 23, right, in 23-24, and he hasn't cracked 20 since then.
No. The 23-24 season, he had 17 with Ottawa, 6 with Florida in the regular season. So he cracked 20.
That's
he had enough.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't list it as 2. Okay, so for the 2 years, yeah, you're right. Okay. My bad. Yeah. Okay, just the way I looked at it. First game against the Red Wings, he tucks 2. Yeah, it was on his first 2 shots, if I remember right. He had 2 goals and 1,000% shooting percentage. Right?
Yeah.
That's like
He went
unheard
crazy.
of. I think the only other player that ever come close to that might have been Austin Matthews.
Yeah. That was crazy to see, man. I remember watching that game live too.
Right? Boy, what a good conversation today, man. What a really good conversation. Let's get into, we got Wendy here. Let's get into, the Blackhawks a little bit. They fired their coach. Have they hired a new coach yet?
Yes, we hired Jeff Blashill. He spent 7 years as head coach in Detroit. So he became the head coach right after Mike Babcock. So he came into Detroit at the end of when they were good and was there at the start of their complete teardown to complete irrelevancy in hockey. Then he became the assistant coach with Tampa Bay for the last 3 years under John Cooper.
Okay. So he's got some pedigree.
Yeah.
Right? What? Real quickly, what is your opinion of Chicago's first round draft? I think they took 2 players.
We took 3.
3. Okay.
So I liked how the draft went for the Hawks in the first round. They did take 2 project players in their second 2 picks in the first round. The main reason why, it's because we've had after this 2025 draft, we've had a total of 11 first round picks in the last 3 years. That's a lot of first round draft picks. So you could take some chances in the draft now in this stage of the rebuild. With the 3rd overall selection, the Hawks took Anton Frundell from Sweden. There was speculation he could have gone 2nd overall to San Jose. Apparently, they were debating for Frundell and Michael Misa, who did go 2nd overall.
Mm-hmm.
Frundell does project to be a Alexander Barkov type player.
I could see that.
25th overall, we selected Vladislav Nestraidl, who is a big body forward that can be mean on the ice and has great hands. He plays kind of if I remember seeing the projection, he projects kind of like a Tage Thompson type player.
Yeah. Okay.
But with more edge to his game. Then our 29th overall pick, the Blackhawks took a risk. They took a player who's a dual sport athlete, and Mason West. Mason West is the starting quarterback for his high school, who's a contender to go to their state championship. And he's but he is committed to play hockey after high school. So he's committed to play for Michigan State for hockey.
Yeah.
But there are colleges trying to get him to go to their school for college football. But
Okay.
it sounds like he is definitely committed to hockey, and he actually is more of a better comparison to Tage Thompson. His style of play does match the style of play as Tage Thompson. He has good hands, good wheels. He's 6'6".
Okay. I hate to do this. I just realized that I kind of screwed up a little bit. I need to go back to the Blues, right?
Mhm.
Thanks, Wendy. The Blues did sign two contracts today. One of them was an AHL contract, a guy that was on the AHL, staying in the AHL. Let's get back to, and then the other one, and I'm going to say this name wrong. Wendy, you might need to help me out here. Bugstad?
Nick Bugstad.
Nick Bugstad. Okay. Signed a 2-year contract, 3.5, 1.75 annual average. He's probably going to slot in the number 3 slot with Sonny dropping the 4. Though I think him flip-flop. I don't like Sonny at 4. I'll be honest. I don't think Sonny works well with Walker, and Walker is the most important guy on the 4th line.
Might add, Blues fans need to chill out. This signing is not second line center. Everybody, well, that's your second line center. Good job, Doug. Like, please stop being armchair GMs. This was not a signing for a second line center. This was a guy that you signed because Fox is not coming back. He's a depth guy.
What did Foska get? I didn't see that.
I don't know what he got, actually. That's actually a good question. I just know he went back to Dallas.
Yeah, I don't have – I couldn't find a free agent. Normally, the NHL.com has a really good free agent tracker.
Puckpedia is the best to look at it right now.
Say again?
Puckpedia.
Okay. I don't know. Up until they used to have a really solid free agency tracker, that listed all the teams, all their free agents, where they signed, and I haven't seen it this year. Right? I haven't seen their free agent tracker. A trade tracker. Here we go. Foska, 3-year contract with Stars. $6 million. So that's what? 2 per?
2 AAV.
Yeah, 2. So he actually got paid a little more than Bugstad got.
Bugstad.
Here, I don't know where he tracks in Dallas, but here he was going to be the 4th line guy, and at $3 million, and at 3.4, what he was getting, I wasn't paying him that to be the 4th line center, right? I think it was at 3.25 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Even at $2 million, I think that's too much for a 4th line center. Now you sign Bugstad, and I'm probably killing his name, Bergstrad. You sign him at what is it, 1.8? But he's actually tracking as a 3rd line center Okay, I'm good with that, right? If he drops to 4 but can play 3, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. He's a depth guy. He's going to
feel a little
float.
better about that.
Butestag has always been kind of a utility player. You could slot him in any spot, and he's pretty good at anything.
He's going to float bottom 6, whether that's third, fourth line. But he's not a guy that's going to be second line center like all these unintelligent marks are talking about.
No.
If there's injuries, you can slot him there, but you don't want him there exactly.
No,
he's a player you could slot into the second line in a pinch if an injury pops up.
A game or two, yeah.
But he's better off on the bottom 2 lines.
And Wendy, I want to bring it up to you. The reason I'm fired up about this segment thing is because Blues fans, I love them. They're passionate. I respect the hell out of that. I'm passionate. I love the Blues. But people just run their mouths so quick. They're so quick. Oh, Doug's not doing this. Doug's not doing that. You are not the GM. Doug is smarter than any of you combined. So sit back and let him do what he's going to do. He's shown numerous times that he knows what he's doing. Let him cook.
Remember the last show, the draft show? What did I say that I think we were going to do on free agency day? Do you remember? Justin?
You probably have, we talk about so much. You probably have to refresh my mind here.
I said I don't think we'll do much. I didn't think we'd do anything. I honestly didn't think that we would make a free agent pickup.
I figured we would. I figured we would get a pickup. I just didn't know who that pickup was. But I think Nick Bukestad. I look at it and I'm kind of like Nick Bukestad, but I'm like, it's not really that big of a deal. He's going to be a third, fourth line guy. He's depth. He's depth guy. He's a big guy.
There's one thing. Army has an advantage that very, very few of the GMs have. I'd say in the league of 32 teams, maybe 6 GMs have this advantage. Maybe 6. And I'll say I'll kind of like who the 6 are, right? I think Vegas, I think Florida, I think Tampa, I think Boston on most normal occasions, and maybe Chicago, but right now no, and St. Louis, maybe Toronto. Kind of an edge there. It all depends. But those teams have an advantage over all the other teams. Any guess what that advantage might be?
Wendy, any guesses?
Say again?
I was asking Wendy if he had any guesses. Because I don't.
Because you named off some
when I say it, you're going to go, oh, okay, I get where you're going now.
I mean, you named off some destination locations.
These are teams that players call the team, not the other way around. Agents call these teams and ask, are you interested in my player? Not the team calling the agent saying, is your player interested in our team? Does that make sense? Is that where you're kind of thinking, going along those lines, Wendy?
Kinda. I can kind of see where you're coming from on it.
Right. I thought Armstrong was in the position of, I'm going to wait, and he's done this in the past. Free agency day comes out, all these signings, he waits 2 days, and then he finds a guy that everybody else passed up on, gets him for good money, and he's a great fit. Something happened in this free agency day that has not been talked about by anybody in the national media whatsoever. And it's huge, and it makes all the sense in the world to me why it happened. And I'm not going to make you, I'm just going to say it. More guys went and re-signed with their team this year that have done it in past years in a long time, right?
Salary cap went up. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
part of it, but there's another reason. What happens? What is this the last year of now?
The CBA.
Right? The 8-year deal. Next year, the max deal is 7 years. All these guys who wanted that max money in some way, shape, or form needed to sign with their own team, because if they bridge it, they may not get that money. That 7 years, they're going to lose some money. So a lot of these guys opted for that 8-year deal, and to get that longevity. And you would think a year isn't a big difference. Well, so for these guys, when they are in their ages, it is, because you sign right now at 20. Let's say most of these guys are 28 years old, right? They sign that 7-year deal or that 8-year deal at whatever it is per, and now you sign it at 7. When you're 34, 35 years old, you're not getting a $10 million deal. You're getting a $1 million deal or a $2 million deal. That's a huge. That's huge. That's huge. And because of this, I mean, I see. I kept hearing in a couple of groups, and now they were trying to back off. Marner's chasing the paycheck. Marner's chasing the paycheck. Marner's chasing the pay, and he wasn't. Marner's chasing a ring. If Marner was chasing a paycheck, Marner goes to Chicago. He goes to he goes to Chicago. He goes to
Anaheim.
Yeah, if
Anaheim,
he came to Chicago, he was going to be.
What?
Marner would have been the highest paid player if he ended up going to like a team like Chicago, because the Hawks, they could have easily offered him $15.5 million.
Or Anaheim. Anaheim had a ass load of money.
Going to a rebuilding team is chasing money. Going to a team that is a top 4 to top 8 team in the league is chasing a ring. By going to by doing the trade and sign with Vegas, that's chasing a ring, and he left some money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
He left good money on the table, right? He got what, 12? And you're saying 15.5? That's $3.5 billion times 7 years. That's $21 million he left on the table, right? Is my math right?
Something like that.
Yeah,
right?
Something like that.
21, 22, $23 million he left on the table by doing that. So this year, that CBA, that 1 year, really, really, really set up this free agency and made it to where there were the middle guys like Bugstrad that were going to be had for a decent price.
Well, I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, Guy. We're talking about free agents, a couple shows ago about Marner. Players like Marner and Sam Bennett, those guys are going to be the big fishes on the market, that teams are looking at. They're not looking at these Nick Bukestads, or I can't really even think of anybody else per se. I know Blues fans were talking about
Fosca's in that same range.
Yeah, Fosca. These guys go under the radar. So it's usually good when you can sign these guys for cheap prices. I think it's gonna be very interesting to see what Marner does in Vegas. God, wouldn't it just be something to see Marner win a cup in Vegas and then Toronto just absolutely loses it?
Yeah, no,
I could see Vegas winning the cup.
I could see it. Well, here's the other news, the big news that came out that somewhat affects Blues fans, right, is Alex Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo, a few days ago, or about a week ago, announced that he was going to need season-ending surgery, right? Okay. Well, then he comes out yesterday, just before free agency, and says, I'm probably not coming back. right?
Yeah.
Now, this affects Vegas in a couple of different ways.
The LTIR loophole is not going to work in a couple of years. And 2 years.
It's not, well, yeah, next year, well, here's the way that the LTI, so they're going, and I've been talking about this one for a while. I've always said that you should initiate a keep the cap, even though players don't get paid, but you have to be under this amount on your 23-man roster. You can have more on your Black Aces than that, but on your 23-man roster, you've got to be under the cap. And that's what they're going to do. Now,
you should be cap compliant.
Now you got to understand something. This is the same thing when this is where Krug affects us. If those players officially retire, they don't get paid. They do not get their contracts. Now, what they do is they say they can't play. They're medically not cleared. And if they are medically not cleared to play, they get paid. But you can't put them on LTIR until midnight of the first day of the season. That's when you can put them on LTIR. That's when you get 100% of the salary cap, of that salary back. Now, here's the other thing, and that gets missed a little bit. If they are medically not able to play, the team, and this one's, the team doesn't pay their paychecks.
Insurance.
You know who pays their pay? Insurance, right? So there's no way that Petro's going to retire or Krug's going to retire. They're going to get that money.
Wow. I just realized something.
Yeah.
Well, Vegas is now officially over the salary cap by where was it? They're over the salary cap by $7.61 million.
And that's Petro's contract.
And Petrangelo's contract is still on the books because it can't go on LTIR until the start of the season.
Yeah.
Is Petro's contract 8 or more?
8.
So you take 20% off that, that's 1.6. Yeah, they can't.
My thing is, I wonder if Vegas ends up just trading the contract this offseason.
Trading a contract for future considerations?
Not even future considerations. They're going to probably trade it to a team like the I'm just putting the Blackhawks as an example.
Oh, trading Petro's contract?
Yeah. To get them under the cap.
I don't think they'll trade Petro's contract because really all they got, if you think about it, how much did you say they were over?
7.1.
7.1. So in all actuality, they can do one of two things. They can trade somebody that's under $2 million and then put him on LTIR early and still be within there. Or they can take a contract and like if they've got a two-way or a contract where they can put him in the minor, a waiver eligible guy that they can put in the minors to take him off. And then so they're as soon as midnight hits, they put him on and then they're clear. Right? Because you don't have to be cap compliant until midnight. And you can make the moves at the same time.
I'm just thinking they might end up.
Does that make sense what I'm saying there, Wendy?
What?
Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I honestly do think we could see a potential of Petrangelo's contract getting traded to a team like the Blackhawks, like San Jose, who can throw him on LTIR or not even throw him on LTIR so they could just be at the cap floor. The Hawks are $2 million over the cap floor already. San Jose is still not at the cap floor.
Yeah.
And
it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
And well, the only problem there is now your insurance, right? It's
Yeah.
how the insurance works.
San Jose, where's the cap floor? I know I saw it.
So it's a way to circumvent the cap floor if you're not paying the paycheck.
Yeah.
But if you trade the contract away, the insurance that you have, because remember, it's not you paying. You're paying. Vegas is paying for the insurance. They trade him. Vegas is no longer paying for the insurance. Now the insurance may not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean,
I
I'm just
don't
saying
think
this.
the
The Blackhawks have a Hall of Famer on their roster, technically, because they traded for an LTIR contract.
Yeah.
And Shea Weber.
Yeah, but there might be something. That's just one of the ways I'm doing it. Chicago is decades away from being competitive.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think decades. I think 5 years.
I'm saying 3.5.
Yeah, decade, that's way too disrespectful.
Yeah.
I don't
3.5
think
is when the Hawks are going to probably be back in contention. 2 years, probably a wild card contention.
It'll be good. It'll be good when Chicago gets good, because I think that, I think the Blues and Chicago will both be good again. Very good in that window. It's kind of how I feel about like Detroit. I think hockey's best when Detroit is competitive.
I'll agree. I think for the most part, your original six, and with one or two exceptions, your second six, when they are good, the league is better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have two exceptions to that, right? I don't think that Philadelphia, if they're good, makes the league better. And I'm not sure where LA is on that spectrum.
LA is good. When LA is good, the league's doing good because it's second highest TV market.
Right?
I can see that.
You also have Anaheim in that market, but they haven't been good for a while. But, I mean, they've been good. Let's go through with it, right? The original six. Montreal, Toronto, Boston, the Rangers, Detroit, and Chicago. When those six teams are good, all six teams are good, I think the league is in a better place, right?
Yeah.
Now let's go to the second six. Well, five, right? Because the California Golden Seals don't exist anymore. And I don't feel like you can count San Jose in that group, even though they kind of replaced them, right?
No, San Jose is not part of it at all.
They replaced the market, but you can't count them, right?
Yeah,
so
because they replaced the market like almost 30 years later.
Okay, you go to the second five, and you have Minnesota, now Dallas, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, St. Louis, LA, and then the Golden Seals, who don't exist. Now you look at those five markets, the ones that I think of those, I struggle with Philadelphia, saying if Philadelphia is good, the league's better. I struggle there, and I struggle a little bit with Dallas, right? Like when Dallas isn't good, does it hurt the league?
Not really.
Now, when St. Louis is good, not good. When Pittsburgh is not good. When LA is not good. And I said LA, I'm on the fence. When those teams aren't good, the league hurts. I really do think they hurt. The league is concerned right now with Crosby, with Pittsburgh aging, and them going into a rebuild. They're a little concerned.
I think it's crazy to think about that, like, different fan bases and fans can think, in the way, because me personally, I'm sure you guys get the same feeling, like how we're talking about, like how it feels when certain teams are good and not good. Like you can really, it's crazy that you can tell, when the league feels great when certain teams are good.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a special thing to see.
Right. There are teams out there that if they were bad, when they are bad, they, in my eyes, do not affect the league. When they're good, they help, but when they're bad, they don't hurt. right? And I'll throw one team right off the bat. If this team is good, great. If they're suck, okay, big deal. Vancouver.
No.
No what?
I disagree there.
Okay, why?
I think
You're more than welcome to. I want to hear your opinion.
Vancouver is the third largest market in Canada.
Right.
And if I remember correctly, when I did some research, they were the 6th largest market in the National Hockey League.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you don't want Vancouver to suck. Granted, they have sucked for almost a decade now.
And again, and here's where I'm going with that is the league hurt in the last decade with them sucking.
Somewhat, it has.
A little bit, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Same level, but not on the same level that they've hurt from Chicago being bad.
Well, yeah, Chicago being bad really has hurt the league because
or Detroit being bad.
Man, Vancouver. I don't know what goes on in Vancouver. I don't follow them like that. But like, man, oh man, like, do I feel bad? For those fans, man. I feel like that team is just a sea of indirectionalists. Like, it's crazy. I don't know what direction they're going.
If you look at your uniform history, it does.
Maybe I just thought about it. I have one team that might be a better example.
Okay, let's hear it.
I want to know what I'll ask you guys first. What team out there do you think is an example of what I'm talking about?
Of a team that if they're hurt, if they are doing terrible,
it doesn't hurt
really affecting the league. The Florida Panthers, easy.
Okay. That's not where I was going. I've got another one. What about you, Dustin?
Okay. So a team that wouldn't hurt the league if they're bad, per se. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Man. I would say I want to lean towards maybe a team like Ottawa, but I don't think that's accurate. I think there's probably a few other teams I can roll around in my head, but Ottawa comes to mind.
Ottawa's not a bad one. Ottawa, I think
Ottawa's not a bad one.
Not a bad one. The one that I'm thinking of, and I can't believe neither one of you guys came up with it because we're going through it with them right now. Buffalo.
I was going to say Buffalo, but I thought that would have been too obvious of a choice.
Yeah, Buffalo's they're so dysfunctional in that organization.
They need a complete overhaul of that organization.
The Pagulas need to sell the team.
The Islanders kind of fall in that a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though they're in a big market, the Devils fall in that a little bit. Not completely, but a little bit, right? Because again, you have the Rangers in that market. You have the Rangers in that market, right?
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much all Rangers market. You have
the Rangers market.
The boroughs of New York, they select whatever they want, but it's pretty much the Rangers market.
Yeah.
Because they play on the MSG network. All three of those teams play on the MSG network, which is literally named Madison Square Garden Network.
Yeah, for the the Rangers owner. I get that.
I may get slack for this, but I think another team that I'm just kind of like meh if they're bad is just because they haven't had the success as most teams is like Minnesota. It would be cool to see Minnesota succeed, but I'm also not like, man, I'm just completely devastated that they're not.
I'm okay with that. The other one that I'm thinking of that comes to mind, and we saw it this year, the Preds.
Yeah, no one cared about Nashville.
Right? When the Preds came out talking, everybody was like, "Oh my God, what happened to them?" And then no one cared. So, but it makes sense. You have a top tier of teams. You have a second tier, and then you have a bottom tier. And in that top tier, to me, is all the original sixes and most of the top the class, yeah, the class of 67, 66, 67, right? And again, I know this might, you have to put St. Louis in that tier a little bit, in that tier to me, because the years that we were really bad, look what happened to the rivalry between Chicago and St. Louis. It just fell off, and that hurt the league. Right? Then they take Detroit out. That hurt the league.
Yeah, when Detroit left for the Eastern Conference, it killed one of the most historic rivalries in sports in the Chicago Blackhawks and Detroit Red Wings.
Yep. And then, St. Louis and Detroit had a good rivalry. Right?
I mean, the Blackhawks and Red Wings are both 100 years old. Yeah. And at the time when before they got moved to the Eastern Conference, the Blackhawks and Red Wings played the most matchups in the NHL history. Now that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
that's now Montreal and Boston.
Yeah, and I get it. And again, like I said, it's why it's one of the reasons I love having you on, because Wendy, when the Blackhawks are good and the Blues are good, it's good for hockey. It's good for all of us. The rivalry. It's like when I get somebody, I drive Lyft. We all know that, right? When I get somebody from Chicago, the first words out of my mouth are, "You can get out of my car now." But they get it. They get it. They get exactly what I'm talking about. If they're from Chicago or Detroit, I almost automatically say that. Right? And they get it. Most of them get it. And it's a joke. It's fun. And what makes what we do, right? Well, fun and enjoyable. And that's why I'm all for it. Now, I do want to ask this, and we're pushing on an hour and a half. I don't know how you guys are for time. I'm okay right now. I want us to grade the Blue, and I know, Wendy, you're a Blackhawks fan, and I'm please ask you to do it subjectively. From the draft to now, grade the Blues. Right? Where do you think, what in the last week and a half, grade their moves? Right? And Wendy, if you want to throw a grade of the Blackhawks in, I don't know enough about the Blackhawks. I haven't followed them. I'll be honest to throw a grade in there. If I did, I kind of think that it'd be maybe a C. Right?
That's pushing it.
Were you going to go with D?
Honestly, I might, because the Blackhawks today alone pretty much just did one move. They traded for a guy they used to have on the team. In fact, it's a guy they've traded for 3 separate times now.
Oh, wow.
Sam Lafferty. Who'd they pick up?
They picked up Sam Lafferty from Buffalo for a 6th-round pick today. They traded Lafferty. They traded the first ever trade Kyle Davidson made as GM of the Blackhawks. He traded for Sam Lafferty by trading away Alex Nylander.
Mm-hmm.
Then a couple years later, he traded Lafferty with Jake McCabe to Toronto for a 1st and a 2nd-round pick. Toronto traded Lafferty over to Vancouver, and Vancouver last summer, right before the draft, traded Ilya Mikheyev and Sam Lafferty's signing rights to the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Mikheyev played for the Hawks last year. Lafferty decided to go over to Buffalo for a 2-year, $2 million contract. And today, the Hawks end up trading for Sam Lafferty again.
Okay. Yes, E. When I get someone in my car because I have Blues formats, and I have in my cup holders I have Blues like little cup coasters, and then I have my seats have blue notes on them. When I get someone in the car, they notice that and ask, "Oh, you're a Blues fan?" I say, "Oh, I'm from Chicago or Detroit." Then I say, "You can get out of my okay." Rides over, and they get it. They laugh. It's actually those are the people that tip because they're having fun, right? So yes, I do that. Go ahead now. Okay, Justin, I'll let you go first. Grade the Blues overall moves. If you want to grade an individual one, that's fine. But I'm looking from the draft, or really go back from Villiahuso, the signing.
Joe Hofer.
Hofer. God damn it, guy. From Hofer till now, grade the Blues moves.
I think as an overall, I don't think there's a crazy amount there. I think if I'm to give a fair grade, I'd say B, maybe maybe a generous B, maybe. I don't know if I can go an A. That would see a little bit too biased.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. I'm not far off you there. Wendy?
Probably around probably a B-ish range.
Yeah.
Hawks, I'm going to give my Hawks maybe I will probably give the Hawks end up a C+ because they did well in the draft. They did pick up Andre Burakovsky a week ago, but today they absolutely did nothing.
Might I add? Sorry, guy, I don't mean to cut you off. Might I add, Wendy, that I thought Mick Bukestad was a yawn. Sam Lafferty, that's a yikes, man. That's a yikes.
I mean, I like Lafferty. That's the thing. I like Sam Lafferty. I was kind of upset when the Hawks traded Lafferty, but I'm like, that's it.
He's like your guys' David Perron.
Today? I'm like,
he's like your guys' David Perron. We did the same thing with Perron. He came back like 3 times.
3 times, yeah. So for me, if I'm looking at this, I start with Hofer, and to me, the Hofer was an A+, right? You got Hofer at decent money. I think 3.2 for him is good money. He's going to play 30 to 40 games. He's going to give Bennington the break he needs. While I think he played his numbers last year, I think his numbers can be a little better, right? I think that he can have a better save percentage. I think he can have a better GAA. I really do. I really do think the team in front of him is going to get better, and that's going to help. So I like that move. You go to the draft. The draft for me is kind of an interesting one. With the draft, first of all, a lot of people felt this was a weak draft, right? So the Blues trading out of this draft, you have to go and say, okay, they didn't have a second, third, or 4th round pick. Well, they did. 2nd round pick was Bolduc. That's who they got. That's who they gave up that pick for. 3rd round pick was Holloway. That's who they gave up that pick for. 4th round pick was Texier. That's who they gave up that pick for. When I look at that, I'm going, okay, that makes a solid A to me, right? Texier is the only miss out of that. I think a 4th round pick for him is too much in hindsight, okay? So at that point, I'm in a solid A for the draft because I think you have to look at it that way. They gave those picks up, but what did they get in return for those picks? Okay, I'm going to say that. So then you come into the Kyrou situation. All this talk, Kyrou trade, da-da-da. They handle it the right way. We're listening, but he's not going anywhere. He's probably not going. You're going to blow our socks. They made it to where you had to call him and blow their socks off. You weren't calling them with some low ball and go from there. You had to call with an offer that blew their socks off to begin with and then start negotiating. Okay, good job. I'll give you a B for that. Get to free agency today. I didn't think they were going to do anything. The minor league deal, not a big deal. C. The trade is a tough one for me. I understand the trade. I'm not sure it was the best trade. I feel like you may have given up too much. Maybe. I'm going to give the trade, and I've seen Blues grades. I've seen Montreal's grades of B plus and Blues grades of B minus. I kind of feel like that might be B minus to C plus for that grade, right?
That's fair.
Bugland or Bugstrad. Bugstrad. Wow. When you first look at it, you go, it's I think he is a upgrade on Fosca. And if you can figure out how to get Sonny to work better with Torpachenko and Walker's the heart of that. This is a solid A, right? This is a solid A. You got someone to replace Fosca for less money and can possibly play a better position. That's a solid A to me. So when I look at everything overall, I'm going, they didn't hit it out of the park, but they certainly didn't miss. So I will settle on solid B plus to if you do some extra credit in the next few days, you might get an A minus.
Yeah. I don't think Armstrong's done. Me personally, I think we've seen some moves now. They still got some cap to work with. I think that they're probably not done, but I think I'm agreeing with most of your grades individually. I think the Bukestad one, the Hofer one, I think those are great deals. I think those are easy A's. Wherever you want to put them in the A category. I think the draft, we talked about it earlier with the roles and how Doug was smart and strategic about where he picked and, how he picked a goalie in the 6th round, kind of like that. So you got to give that more like a high B plus probably. And then the trade, I think the trade will only tell in time. We're not going to know until we physically see it play out. It's going to take time.
What do you think about my assessment?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from with it. It also, because it is still the infancy of the off season, teams do some stuff in the middle of the off season, so it could raise, it could not, it could just stay put.
Yeah, no.
So I see where you're coming from,
right? The draft is probably the one that's going to people aren't. But how can you not look at that draft and go, Boberg is our 2nd pick, Holloway was our 3rd pick, Texier was our 4th. That's what we got him for, right? That's what we gave up to get them. So when you look at it that way, and when you say, "Oh, this is a weak draft," and then the other part of that I didn't say is, well, you only had 3 picks. Why not fill up our cupboard is full right now. Our cupboard is full. The Blues have a top 10 to top 5 prospect rating. They are in good shape. We have some good quality guys on the doorstep. So I'm okay missing a year, especially when the outcome of that missing a year was Boberg, Holloway, and Texier. And yes, Texier was the miss. But still, to me, Holloway and Boberg make up for Texier. Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I mean, especially. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too hurting. Like, I'm not too like down on Texier too much. I mean, he's just kind of there. But like the Broberg and Holloway, I mean, if those guys, say they come in and have 2 unreal seasons again, I mean, those guys are. I already still think that they're going to be big time players, but I think if especially if they come in next season here and have the same amount of success that they did in their first season here, the Blues are going to be in some good shape, man. I'm telling you what.
My concern with that, and I think Wendy might share this. Wendy might agree with me. If both of those guys have years as good as or better than this year, we will lose one of them before we will lose one before next season. Right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
The good thing with them is they still, even after next year, have 2 or 3 more years of RFA left, right? So it's like not next year when these current RFA schedules our contracts are up, they're not FAs. They stay in the RFA, right? Cairo ain't getting moved. No way, Shaggy. In fact, he's got his no trade clicked in now. I don't see Cairo going anywhere. You'd have to bust the bank for Cairo. You'd have to bust the bank. I'm talking 5 first-round picks to get Cairo. That's the only way I think you're getting Cairo.
That's way too much for Cairo.
Again, but I think you have to bust the bank to get him.
I can't see a team giving up 5 first-round picks.
What do you see as busting the bank?
Maybe a first and 2 seconds.
Oh no, I think that's where he's at right now.
I'm looking at trades in the past that were made, and no one gives up 5 first-round picks like that.
Yeah, no, you're not getting
a couple seconds makes more sense than.
But to me, a first and 2 seconds is where he's at right now. That's not busting the bank. If you're busting the bank, you've got to give up. I'm talking, okay, let's say 3 first-round picks, or a first round this year, a first round next year, and a prospect that's ready to hit the NHL right now.
Yeah. I mean, then again, I think we can toy with the idea of these things, but I mean, at the end, Kairou's not going anywhere, so it doesn't really matter. They're not moving Kairou.
Well,
if they were going to move him, it would already happen.
5 first-round picks in basketball is completely different than 5 first-round picks in hockey. No team gives up 5 first-round picks in hockey. Basketball, they don't give a crap about their draft picks. There's only 2 rounds in the NBA draft.
I think I can name the last team to give up 5 first-round picks in hockey.
I really can't.
They did it twice.
I can't either, to be honest. I mean, I didn't even think teams would have 5 first-round draft picks. 5 total.
This is my age showing. At the infancy of free agency, when it first came out, RFAs, the price for them was 5 first-round picks. The Blues signed, and I can't think of we ended up going to the Devils. I can't remember who we signed. Huh?
Shanahan or
no, Scott Stevens. Scott Stevens gave up 5 first-round picks, signed Shanahan. I think it was Shanahan the next year, and owed 5 first-round picks for that.
I don't think that's how it went. I thought they had to give up.
Well, that's the thing. We didn't have the 5 first-round picks, so we had to have compensation, and 2 teams couldn't get New Jersey and St. Louis couldn't get together on a compensation, so it went to an arbitrator, and an arbitrator said, well, Stevens was worth 5 first-round picks, so Stevens is going to go to New Jersey, and that's how that went. Right. So yeah, but that was the last time and it may have been, but that's what in my memory, that's the last time that I can think of a team giving up the 5 first-round picks.
Yeah. And there's now place in the highest compensation you can give up now.
It's 4
in an
first-round.
offer sheet is, I think, only 4.
Yeah, it's 4 first-round picks.
But yeah, you don't see teams giving up 5 first-round picks in hockey.
Yeah.
The max they usually give up is 2 first-round picks and a couple other round picks.
Yeah.
That's it. They usually don't give up 5 first-rounders. That's setting a team back a lot.
Yeah. See, like And if you want to go like a one for 5 deal, you look at, and I go and I look at the O'Reilly deal. That was 1 for 5. I think that what should have happened in that deal, it may not have been a switch of first round picks, but maybe we should have gotten a first round pick like 2 years or 3 years later. Right? Like we gave him our first round pick in 19. We should have gotten a couple of picks with that deal. And I don't feel like I still, that's my biggest issue with the O'Reilly deal. Ryan O'Reilly was not worth 5 players. And I say this with the caveat, there's a good chance that Armstrong told Buffalo, you have to take Saboka and Bergelin or the deal's not happening. But I still feel like we should have gotten more in return. Right? And again, the caveat to that or the asterisk to that is that might have been what Armstrong did. But yeah, so to me, to break the bank, okay, 3 first round picks are 2 first round picks and a guy that's NHL ready right now. So a guy that was a top 10 pick 2 years ago. Right?
A trade that reminds me kind of in a way you're talking, Steph Jones to the Blackhawks. The Hawks gave up Adam Boquist, who was a first-round draft pick, a 12th overall pick, a 44th overall pick, and the 2022 first-round pick. Hawks in return got Jones, a 32nd overall pick, and a 6th-round pick.
Yeah,
a terrible trade for the Hawks.
Yeah, I'll agree
frankly,
with you.
But they ended up doing well for themselves, getting rid of the terrible contract and the locker room cancer Steph Jones is.
Seth Jones, baby.
I hate him.
Yeah.
That guy,
well, I mean, he don't get a cup. He just get a cup.
What?
He got a cup, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But I was saying, when I saw him hoist it, I said, "Fuck you, Jones."
Was he the second one or the first one?
He might have been the second.
Second, right?
Jones had some good performances in that playoffs, but Jones is just a guy who is a benefactor of being on just an elite team.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah. I won't ever like the guy. I'm hoping, I will just say this, they're on my plan for this coming season. So every time frickin' Jones touches the puck at the United Center, I get to be in the building to boo the living crap out of him when he touches the puck.
Man, the hatred runs deep.
I like that.
All of Chicago hates the guy. He was hated when he played for us. He's going to be hated still when he comes back. I guarantee you, if they show a tribute video of him at the United Center
It'll get booed.
welcoming him back, he's going to get booed the entire time.
I don't think they'll do a video. I think they'll just put his picture up.
They might do a video because he was with the team for almost 5 years.
I know, but I don't think they want to. If they know he's going to be booed, the only thing that I can think that, I mean, it'll be a smattering. I mean, might be some applause in there, but
here, I don't think anyone's going to applaud him. Everyone hated him. I was at a game this year. Jones was getting booed on the ice at the United Center when he was still a Blackhawk. People hate Steph Jones in Chicago.
I think, and that I think that partly. I mean, he's very overrated, but I think I think it had to do a lot with that contract he had too. Like, it
was. That was a factor, but a lot of people hated him for his. He came off kind of like he didn't care about being there. If you don't want to wear the Blackhawk uniform, at that point, we're like, F you, get out of here. We don't like you at this point. He went to the media, started. I will just start going on a little bit of a tangent. He was bitching and moaning about wanting out of Chicago, and he doubled down Then a couple days later, the Hawks traded him to Florida. We ended up getting a great return. We got a starting goalie and Spencer Knight and a first-round pick out of it. Jones is now gone. And then the next couple of days, the Hawks went on a little bit of a run.
Yeah.
And Nick Foligno then threw Jones under the bus in the media, which was great, by saying we got rid of the distractions in the locker room, basically pointing at Jones.
Yeah.
And the Hawks played much better when Jones was gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know Jones. I don't follow him like that. I know I've never been a Seth Jones fan. Personality wise, I don't know him. Obviously, Chicago fans would know him a little more.
All right. Now, hey, what did I do? I screwed up here. Okay. There we go. I screwed up. No, I get it. I understand. Justin, I got to ask you a question if you're okay with it, right? Last three shows we've done, I think have been absolutely spectacular. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they've been great. I think we've had some good banter. We have some good co-hosts as well.
Right? Yeah, guests. We had some good guest hosts. I agree. I wanted to know what you think about me using something like this for our cover photo. Can you see it? I know you might have to go to this a little bit tighter.
Yeah, that should work. Yeah,
okay.
That should be okay.
What do you think of that, Wendy? Is that too busy, or you kind of like it?
It's not bad.
Right?
Are you going to start rebranding your stuff to the new logo and stuff eventually?
Well, that's the thing. The backgrounds that I have were sent to me, and I don't have a way to clear them out. Okay. Right? I don't think I have one that's just with me in the background. Where this is, me in the background. I don't think I have one that has no words or no logo on it.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I could figure out a way to do that, to get one like that, or to make something new, because someone did this for me, and I'm no longer connected to that person, unfortunately. So yeah, I just don't have the Photoshop skills to make something new like that.
I could help you out with something because I'm pretty good for photoshopping skills. You just need basically a digital background type of thing.
Yeah. Well, we can talk offline, but what I'd like to do, you go back. Let me add this back to the stage. The original background here, right? I want to keep that, and I'd like to change the wording a little bit, and let me remove that. Let me look at something here real quick. Give me just a second.
Well, I'm glad you're coming to the rescue, Wendy, because I am not very tech savvy.
Yeah, I basically do my own. I have my own.
I'm sure I might find somebody out there that knows what I need or are willing to help me out. But I'm trying to find the blank. I know I got one that's semi-blank. And what I do is I use my video software that I do my video editing with, and I use that to put the pictures together and do all of that stuff.
Okay.
I'm trying. I know I got one that's no, that's not it. I know I got one that's 3/4 blank. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this one. See, I've got this one, and here I got that one right where it doesn't, but it has the logo, and I don't have one where it doesn't have the logo or it doesn't have this bottom part of it. This is the cleanest one I have. Okay. Right. So, and that's the problem. I wish I had one that was completely clean, but I don't. Right. And I don't know if I still have access to this picture that was used of me. I may have access to it. I don't know. Okay. Right? That picture was taken at a time of my life that I kind of like to forget. But I like the picture. It's a really good picture. Mm-hmm. Right. This was at a game this is when I was trying to give a fist to Tereshchenko after he scored a goal from the stands. That's what this is. That's what that picture is. So Great show, guys. Really a lot of fun. And just so you know, we stayed real close to 10 people almost the whole way through. I think it dropped as low as 4, but I think as high as 12. So I think we stayed in that 10 person. So we're keeping people's interest. We're doing a better job at that. And as we get closer and closer to the season, and while, you know, I'd love, oh, by the way, that was another thing. You know, we're kind of sort of sponsored by Vitali's Hideaway in Warden, Illinois. Last Sunday, they had their episode on bar rescue, right? I don't know if you got to see it. If you have a video on demand or you know, Spectrum Cable, that you can go and look at it. I also think it's on Paramount. If you have Paramount Plus, you can see it there. It was interesting to see what the stage was before and what the stage was like when after they redid it, and you know, the stage that we were on and how the place looked like when we did it. I gotta say, the shows that we did up there were absolutely fantastic, and I've been told by them that I am welcome there anytime. I have an open door. Let me know. We'll let you, if we'll set it up for you, right? And it was, I know it's about 30 minutes north of St. Louis. Is that about right, Wendy? About 30 minutes? Maybe a little less?
Maybe a little bit more.
A little bit more. But it's to me, it felt like really easy to get there. Right?
Yeah, it's right off 55.
Right off 55. I mean, right, and you get off the exit, you take a left, and it's right across the highway, right there. So and we had you, me, and Lance, the show, when we were there for the first show, and I had the technical difficulties. When we did the shows afterwards, they seemed good to me. They seemed fun, and I've enjoyed it. And I appreciate Justin, you know, helping me out as a possible new permanent co-host. I really do appreciate you for that. Wendy, you know, you are almost 99% of the time welcome on the show, right? All I do is there are times where I struggle a little bit, and I may not want, you know, to have the Black Hawkness of the show, right? But I love you. I love you to death, and you know that, right? You know how I feel. I appreciate you completely, and I don't think you've ever been like felt hurt that I've said no, not today.
Yeah, it doesn't matter with me. I just stop when I see you're on. I just make sure to ask you ahead of time just in case.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you did. I was running a little late. I was eating something real quick, but we had a good show tonight. We're almost at 2 hours, and that's the thing. It did, to me, this didn't feel like 2 hours, right? This did not feel like 2 hours. I thought we'd do an hour, maybe. Great show. I really appreciate you guys. I want to thank you. I'm going to open it up for, we got 6 minutes left. I'm opening it up to the chat room. If you got something a question you want to ask us, now's the time. Ask us a question, and we'll try and answer it before we go away for a 2 hour show. I think that's a good, decent show, especially this time of year. And, you know, like I said, I felt the Blues have had a good offseason so far. I would list them. If you're listing winners and losers, I would put the Blues as the winner right now.
Yeah. Out of the minimal stuff that we've seen, I think you give them a passing grade so far.
Yeah, I mean, you're still what they've done. They haven't done anything. They haven't hurt the team, even with the giving up of Bolduc.
No, I'm gonna miss Bolduc, but Bolduc is gonna. I think Bolduc is gonna be great for Montreal. And yeah, I'm gonna miss him. He's a hard-working player, but like I said, he's not a guy who's gonna break the bank. I would rather keep Kyrou and go on with what we're gonna have for the future, because there's still a lot of pieces on this team that is very exciting to get excited about.
A big thank you to Game Over player Stanley Marlowe, Guido, Jason Nichols, Jose Figueres, and Aaron Nels for putting those thumbs up. and letting us know that you cared and you liked the show on Facebook. If you did it on YouTube, and I know some of you did, I can't see it, but I greatly appreciate it. I feel really good about where we're at right now. I feel really good about remember, Wendy, was it prior to the draft, I asked you where you would rank, where the Blues would finish the season in. Remember that a couple shows ago?
Yeah, I had them like fourth in the division, something like
You
that.
said third or fourth. You had them right, challenging third or fourth, right?
Yeah.
Has that changed with today's developments or this last week since that show?
No, I think it's still around the same.
Okay, I kind of feel like they may be challenging for that second spot. Right?
Me personally, obviously, I'm gonna take more of the neutral ground. I think Wendy's saying 4, you're saying 2. I'm gonna go 3. So 3, 4-ish. I don't think that they're gonna be competing for for the division win or anything like that. To be honest, but I think that they're gonna be a secure playoff team for me personally.
They're only one player away from competing for the division. I honestly believe that. I think they're one player away, and they could have that player on the roster right now.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? Do you know who
I
I'm
don't
talking
about? It would be the player coming up possibly would be Dvorsky, or it would be Snuggerud.
Snuggerud is the X factor right now. Snuggerud is the X factor. He's going to play. If
he's going to play.
If Snuggerud is the guy we think he is, remember Bolduc had 19 goals. Snuggerud could have 30. Snuggerud could have 30 in his rookie year. If he's that guy, and we have 2 to 3 30 goal scorers in not Bolduc, Kyrou, Holloway, and Snuggerud, dude, we're challenging for the top spot.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you get that type of reduction, from most everybody in the lineup, you're going to be a competing team. We'll have to see. I'm excited about Snuggerud this season. See what he brings to the table. You can already see the offensive upside that Snuggerud's going to bring. It's just, how good of a rookie season will he have? It's just a question.
I'm sure he's going to get handicapped for the Calder. I'm sure he's going to be in the top 3 season for the Calder.
The Calder favorite right now.
Go ahead.
Did you freeze, Wendy, or are you thinking? He froze.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he froze.
I think I don't even think about the Calder guy because I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't even really look at the awards. You want to know why? Because I look at the awards as a popularity contest. I really do. You look at some of these awards that they give out each year. Like I remember the year you remember when Roman Josi, just had an unbelievable season and definitely should have won the Norris. Yeah, the Norris, and they gave it to Cale Makar.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Roman Yoshi's to win. That should have went to Roman Josi, no questions about it.
Yeah, I get it. What were you going to say, Wendy? You froze on me.
Right now, I will say the Calder favorite's going to be Ivan Demidov with Montreal. And I already have my pick for the Bill Masterton Trophy.
Which one's the Masterton?
Pretty much the most dedicated to the game, almost comeback player of the year.
Yeah, okay.
That's going to be good old number 19, Jonathan Toews, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's been off the ice. He hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's awesome to meet him.
Yeah.
did get to meet Jonathan Taze this Sunday. It was awesome to meet him. And I'm hoping he does well in Winnipeg. I might end up buying a Jets jersey with his name.
You don't think? And I'm sorry, Justin. You don't think Snoogie could be in that top 3?
It's going to be difficult. I know it doesn't look like any of the draft picks from this year's draft's going to be in the NHL this year.
Yeah.
The Hawks might have a player in Artem Lashunov on defense. It's going to be a weird year for the Calder, in my opinion, where I'm sitting right now.
That's why I think a 22-year-old, 21-year-old Snuggerud, who has already shown what he can be, given a full season of that, I think he could be up there.
I think it's a possibility. I'm just gonna say this, guy, and it's gonna sound like me being a whiny, bitch. But the Blues, it's gonna take a hell of a season from Snuggerud for the NHL to even give any Blues player the credit that they deserve. Let's just be honest.
I don't completely agree with that. Blues players this year, some of them did show up in the votings. And even Bennington showed up in the voting for the Vezina. So
I didn't say they wouldn't get credit. They may get the recognition, but like I said, they're gonna have to he'd have to have a really, really good season to be
rookie
even.
Of the year, though, the rookie of the year. I mean, if he puts up 30 goals as a rookie, and he has that potential. Yeah. I don't see anybody taking it from him. I don't see another rookie. I don't see Demonov putting up 30 goals.
I do.
Okay.
Demonov
would put up 40.
Okay, well, that would be the only way then.
Yeah.
That would be the only way.
Demonov's going to be a good player, man. I've been hearing so many good things about him. He's going to be fun to watch.
Montreal should go back-to-back for the Calder Trophy winners.
We are over the 2-hour mark. What a great show. Thank you so much. I want to thank Windy City Hockey, Nick, for joining us today. Great show. I appreciate you. You thank you for being here, Windy. As always, you're a friend of the show, and we greatly appreciate you. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Justin, again, thanks for coming on. I know you got your new job playing with the kiddos. I'm glad you were able to come on. I adjusted the time to try and give you a little more time. I hope that worked for you.
I appreciate it.
And I think that we did really good. I do not know when the next show is going to be. The league is pretty much like on shutdown until September, right? There could be some things happening here or there, but unless there's a major thing, I don't know when the next show will be. If I start getting asked about doing a show, maybe we'll come up with something, but I don't know when the next show is going to be. I got to say that. So, I mean, that's just an honest answer there, bud.
Yeah, no, you're good. I think, like I said, I think, once we kind of inch a little closer to the season, excitement, will continue to form. I do think that we should definitely do a show over, giving our opinions on where we see the standings lying, our predictions for the season, for every team.
I want to do that live at the tallies. I honestly do. I want to do that. I do a live show at the tallies like we did last year. Mm-hmm. Right, Nick? I thought we had a great time doing that, Nick. Did you?
Yeah, it worked out.
I think we could put 4 people there if need be. I think we could make it work. I can always pull my camera, widen it out a little bit or adjust it, or I've got that second camera that we can set up if need be. We can always figure something out that way. I look forward to it. Again, thank you. The next big thing coming out for the league is sometime in July. I don't know the date, probably in the middle, is the schedule.
The 16th.
Say again?
The last time I heard it's going to be the 16th. We see the schedule get dropped.
Maybe that's when we'll do the next show, when the schedule drops, and we'll talk about some of the important dates on it. Right? And there'll be important dates for everyone. There'll be important dates for the Blues, important dates for the Blackhawks, different for the league itself.
Three teams having their centennial at once.
Yeah. Who's the three teams?
The Blackhawks, the Red Wings, and the Rangers all having their centennial this season. And it's going to make up for some interesting opening night games because usually a team who has their centennial brings out a bunch of alumni for those games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It might be neat to see them set it up so they each play each other on their opening night.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to try and split up.
Logistically, it might be hard, but you could have like Chicago open with Detroit and Detroit open with the Rangers, and maybe the Rangers open with Boston or Toronto.
I've been seeing speculation for the Hawks, though their home opener might be against Winnipeg.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Because Jonathan Taves factor,
Right.
maybe.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. I want to thank you all. Great show, man. Guy says we're going to go, and he never goes. Yeah, that's who Guy is. Okay, this is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, asking the boy what they got for us.
Hawaii Blues fan, we're bleeding blue with you. Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues!
And this is Guy and Nick, our Guy and Justin, with Nick saying aloha mahalo, and we'll see you on the next BlueNote Fan Report.